Alright, so as promised, we now have an engine crane, we have a broken car, and we have a plan for the day. After last episode's little dalliance, we're back on to the big stuff, so let's get right into it. Alright, so lots of struggle and a little bit of help from the kind ladies and gents at my local Super Cheap, because a few of these parts were very uncooperative. And we have an engine stand and we have an engine crane. So that finally means 3 weeks after we got the car, engine should hopefully come out today. Alright, so plan of attack for getting the motor out. We've got one motor mount up top and I think it's sitting on another motor mount down the bottom. Other than that, we've got the gearbox mounts and the actual shifter turret mount. Those four things come out. Car's going to be sitting up on jacks and we'll have the engine stand, the engine crane attached to it, and what we'll do is we'll lower it down slowly onto the garage creeper and just crawl the entire setup out from underneath, because getting the boxer out around the scuttle in the front is just not the go for these things. It's all about coming out from under, so we'll go that way, and then from there we'll get it lifted back up using the crane, popped onto the engine stand and see what we're working with. So we have the upper engine mount just there, and then if we can see past the steering a little bit further down, it's quite hard to see, but down there is where our axles connect into the gearbox. And just here we've got either a lower engine mount or maybe just a block of wood. Looking at it, it's quite hard to tell, and that's about all that holds it in. So nothing too major, which is good. It helps when you've got a half disassembled car to begin with, I guess. As you guys can see, it is remarkably crusty under here. These poor brakes are in a bit of a state. But that is not our aim for the moment. Those will get done at a later date. But very much looking forward to cleaning those up. They are atrocious. Alright, so next up, getting the engine crane hooked up to our point, so we're just going to relieve a little bit of the weight from the motor and just make sure it's held up, because as soon as we drop the back of the gearbox, what we're going to find is that it's all going to start tipping and trying to fall, so we want it to at least be held up at the front here so it doesn't go collapsing on us. Not the best way to end your Saturday. Awesome, so that is the engine now supported. We'll get that engine mount undone, have a look, see if that is actually a block of wood, and then under the car we go. So it is now freezing cold outside, dark as anything, and since the last clip you saw, I've done not too much. I've got the front of the front subframe off because I need to drop that to get the motor out, and then we ran into some problems with a couple of stuck bolts, and then things have just been soaking in WD-40. I didn't record getting the subframe off because I'm stupid and I was just fiddling around trying to figure out how it came off and then dropped it without even thinking about it. So there's no footage of that. I'll show you guys in a second what it looks like. It's not 100% finished yet. We're about to actually go back and attack the bolts that were super rusty, and hopefully the WD-40 has set them free. Alright, so subframe sitting down here has just dropped out. It's just 2 bolts at the front, and then it's held in by the arm that connects through from that front little mount to the lower hub. Pretty simple little setup there. Those bottom bolts that connect to the hub are the ones that were stuck, so hopefully those ones will come off now. That all comes off, axles are about to come out, and then the motor can be dropped finally, and that should be enough progress for the day because it is getting dark, cold, and I'm getting hungry. So that's one very rusty subframe out. Lighting's obviously a bit bad because we're getting very late in the night, but that's the last thing in the way of getting the motor dropped down. So I'm pretty stoked to have that out. It's been a mission and a half, but the mission's more than halfway done. So this here is our rusty front subframe. As you can see, it's basically just a section across. These connecting parts are actually bolted in, so it's not all one cast piece, and then our sway bar is built in. That part there connects to our lower control arm, and then this there goes right into the frame at the front of the car. Quite simple really, quite small. Not easy to get out though, unfortunately. Alright, so axles are off, subframe's out, subframe's sitting over there. Engine is currently fully suspended by the engine crane. About to roll the garage creeper underneath, drop the motor down onto it. Garage creeper is rated up to 150. Motor's supposed to be around 100 from what I've read online, so we'll be sorted. Drop that engine out and we should be able to then move the crane out of the way and just pull the engine out of the front of the car, with any luck at least. That there is our Alfa 33's engine. Thank bloody goodness it is out. It fought, but it's out. Last thing for the night is going to be move the engine from over there and try chuck it up on our engine stand just over here so we can have it sitting away and ready to start getting disassembled. I will probably have to repurpose the top desk of that shelf I built in the last episode for engine parts, but from there the real stuff starts happening. Engine starts coming apart, everything starts to get brushed up, restored, and hopefully real progress gets made every episode from now on. I'm very, very excited. I'm so stoked that that came out. I've spent way too much time on this today and I was starting to think it was a sunk cost. So pretty stoked. that seems to have me beat. And after an evening of not giving up and persevering and keeping on going, I think I'm about done. I would love to figure it out right now, but there's not that many bolt holes on the back of that motor, and the bolts aren't particularly big. I don't really know if they'd actually hold up the motor on the engine stand, so half of me is kind of thinking the engine stand will just put it on a bench. So it doesn't fuss me if that's the way. The engine stand can just go to the back of the garage for the next thing, because even if it's not useful now, it's going to be useful in the future, let's be honest. So I think for now I'll push this into the back of the garage, and then we'll say our closing arguments, shall we? Right, now that we have a Fred Flintstone powered Alfa Romeo, it may seem like things have gone a little bit backwards, but we're about to make the most forward progress we've made so far. From here on out, things start to get a bit more serious. Motor's finally out. That's been our biggest thing that's been holding us back, so we can start getting into tearing that down, getting it all cleaned up, tearing into the suspension, getting that all done, and getting the rust on the body treated and that. And from there we'll be looking at getting a running, driving car, and then next up will be finishing touches. So it's here really where the build starts in earnest. I'm super stoked that we're up to this stage, super stoked that I managed to get this done today, and just really looking forward to being able to share the rest of this with you guys, because this is where it starts to get really good. So make sure to tune in for the next one.